So, Invincible versus Conquest was adapted perfectly.
There's rules to this shit. Fools dare care. Everybody wanna rule the world with tears for fear.
First, I want to talk about anything else that certain people had a problem with leading up to this episode. The elephant in the room being Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Obviously, most people love him as Conquest now, but good lord, the amount of glazing I've seen of the AI Conquest Thanos voice is just like appalling to me.
Stand ready for my arrival.
JDM was basically perfect for Conquest now. Not only in voice acting, but surprisingly also meta-wise. You know why.
So, back to it.
Getting into the start of the fight, it may feel jarring at first. The only thing we know of Conquest is, well, like, you know, his name. And earlier in the season, and even earlier in season 2, all we are sure of from the overwhelming Viltrumite threat is basically word of mouth and Anissa from season 2. So progressing through the story, we get to the penultimate episode of the season being the Invincible War, which is less of a setup for the Viltrumites, but Mark's character arc. Honestly, I think it's a little bit deeper than some people give it credit for, than just, is it bad for me to kill my enemies? Slight spoilers, kinda, not really, but if you don't want any type of spoilers at all, I would skip ahead a little bit. Back to the setup of Conquest, a big loss regarding the Invincible War and his inactivity. He goes to help with the cleanup, angry, frustrated, and then Conquest arrives. Well, at first it's just another obstacle for Mark to come, where it feels like the writers or Robert Kirkman just wants to kick Mark even more while he's down. Which, honestly, that might be true considering what Ryan Otley says sometimes. I think it's great because of just the general feeling of dread that it gives. And also for Mark to get an outlet for his anger, even though he immediately goes back on that. I think that's what makes the setup for this fight so good. No downtime, no time to rest. He's thrown back into it, and we are reminded of this immediate threat that the show for this season is largely ignored. It kind of reminds Mark and the viewer. We start with one of the most amazing quotes in this fight.
So the only thing I want to do right now is hit something as hard as I can.
Alright, I said it once, but I'll say it again. This fight was absolutely amazing. Every hit felt like it hurt and had an impact. I mostly want to talk about the big moments here. JDM really doesn't disappoint. His callous nature throughout the entire fight just really sells it for me. And this weird blood heart thing he does, I really love this. Oliver takes his purple ass on over and tries to catch up, and it's a very bad decision because he gets his head slapped like a dodgeball.
I told you not to do it!
Oliver is still one of the best brothers in fiction though, so I can give him that. He lands a clean punch. I'll give him that as well. This doesn't work either. They fly off and Oliver almost hits a growth spurt. Man, they adapted this panel and it hurt a lot more than I thought it would. I mean, they had me worried that Oliver was actually going to die here, and I read the comic. Like, I know it's going to be a little longer because it is animation and not a singular panel in a comic book, but I just feel like they made it hurt as much as possible. Man, it was really painful. I really thought Oliver was done for. They did the scene perfectly. So after Oliver grows about 6 inches or so, Cecil picks him up and he's down for the count. Is that how you say it? Is it down for the count? Is that right? Yeah, down for the count. I was correct. Then we get a recreation of the train scene, basically. I kind of wish they adapted this panel from the comics with him flying through the battleship, but unfortunately they did not. They kind of did this with the building and the people, so the callbacks to the show, the first season, is still great even if we didn't get this battleship moment. She wakes up out of her coma because she heard her insufferable father talking, so she wakes up and goes to help Mark. Mark gets karate chopped in his kneecap, and Eve gets turned into a glazed donut. It does more in the show, but I'm saving that for the last section. Again, Eve's death, it hurt to watch despite knowing she isn't dead. And there was an amazing performance from JDM here, but I really want to talk about Steven.
Don't try to talk, okay? It's Cecil! I need you, Cecil!
We get a surprisingly good delivery of Mark's "I can see the future. You don't live to see tomorrow," and it's great. I love this panel from the comics, but I was kind of expecting it to come out a little odd on screen. Mark breaks Conquest Thanos' gauntlet and breaks his arm in the process. Ew. And Eve revives like the Phoenix and toast Conquest. Conquest is most likely going to get an indecent exposure charge, but you know, it doesn't matter since Mark helps him out a little bit. So Conquest is dead. Eve and Mark survive, and Cecil shows up late. He was low-key watching them get slimed out the entire time. But let's rewind a bit. I want to talk about the few main changes made to the source material, and man, they were good. Firstly, Eve just isn't dead weight. I mean, at the time, I was genuinely curious about the inclusion of Eve in the comic book at this point, because it seemed like she was just a plot device for Mark to get a Zenkai boost and for her to just die. But they make some callbacks to the Adam Eve special, and Eve pops off and shows off some of her power set. Her increasing the air density and the water bubble is probably the best her powers have ever been used so far. I'm not sure why she didn't do things like that instead of those damn walls, but I'm gonna chalk it up to it costs her a bunch of energy to do, so basically headcanon. However, what I really wanted to talk about was Conquest and the speech she gives. And man, is it probably the best additional dialogue they've ever added to the series thus far. Conquest is just the perfect example of Viltrumite culture. Ruthless, vicious, somewhat effective. However, in the comics, that's kind of just where he stops as a character. Here, he's lonely. Too good at what he does. As Conquest himself says,
"They send me from planet to planet committing atrocities in their name. And as I get better at it, they fear me more and more. I am a victim of my own success. Conquest. I don't even get a real name. Only a purpose. I am capable of so much more, and no one sees it. Some days I feel so alone I could cry, but I don't. I never do. Because what would be the point? Not a single person in the entire universe would care."
it implies that he knows he can do more, and yet he's only known for his name. He's a weapon, a powerhouse with emotions. His emotional outlet is this: fighting Mark, looking for a place to share it. The addition of "take it to the grave" really sells this for me. Some people have an issue with this addition, and they believe it makes them too sympathetic, or it makes the Viltrumites seem misunderstood, but I beg to differ. As I stated before, the quote "take it to the grave" still reminds us of his intent to kill Mark, his viciousness. I think this speech is also very good foreshadowing, but it makes an already great villain even better. And it tells us about how human Viltrumites can become if they allowed it to happen. And I think that this change cements it as the best adaptation of a fight in the series so far, giving us good animation, keeping what needs to be kept, and adding to the already great source material. To me, Invincible vs. Conquest was adapted perfectly. We reached the end of the video, so thanks a lot if you stayed around and enjoyed listening to me yap, and this was really fun to do. I know the wave of Invincible videos for season 3 are probably kind of ending. I'm probably on the back foot of that, but I'm hoping some people can find this and listen to my thoughts and see my art. I can't wait to see how they adapt the rest of the fights going forward, especially round 2. In the end, if you enjoyed my art, my yap, subscribe, and come back next time. You can also find me on all of these platforms if you want to see more art alongside any other things I may talk about.